Hi, Stephen. Very glad to have you at the Startups Innovation Podcast. This is an honor to have you today. Stephen Key is an award-winning inventor, renowned IP strategist, a successful entrepreneur, and a best-selling author. And he's going to tell us a bit more about his career and life during this interview. It's a great honor again. With more than 20 products successfully licensed over the past 35 years, Walmart, 7-Eleven, Disney have sold his products, which were endorsed by Michael Jordan, Alex Trebek, and Taylor Swift. And there's many more things I could speak about, but I'm here to welcome Stephen to the interview. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction. Thank you.
So can you tell us maybe a bit more about Eventbrite before we jump into the questions, of the interview?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. About 19 years ago, I started to talk about this process that I've been using to bring my own ideas to market through licensing. And I started a little company 19 years ago called Invent Right. You want to invent right, not wrong. And it's become, I think, fairly popular. We have students in over 58 countries now that we coach. But basically, it's helping the inventing community do a better job licensing ideas. And I'm very proud of this little company. There's 20 of us, and we all live in different places, but our goal has never changed. We want to help the inventing community do a better job.
That's amazing. I'm looking forward to learn a bit more. We're going to have a few questions here. So first question, as you're a product artist, how do you find new ideas?
Well, what I like to do is find a category that interests me as a consumer. And then let's say I want to do something in the kitchen category. Then I really study what the other products are that are on the market. I might look at the reviews on Amazon to see what people like and what they don't like. I might even go down to some of the retailers that I want my product to sell on those store shelves. So I'm really studying the marketplace. That's the first step. I want to see if I can come up with something that's a little new. I don't want to reinvent the wheel, but I want to make a small improvement on an existing idea. It's much easier to license that idea with that simple approach. So I really just look for holes. I look for opportunities. I look for things that maybe people have missed, and then I just play. I play these certain child games to come up with alternatives and just kind of imagine, and every once in a while a great idea pops out. Okay, so it's just a kind of a creative process.
Excellent. And what, in your opinion, are the most important characteristic that makes a great product that's going to sell a lot? Let's say over $1 million in revenue.
Well, first of all, you have to have it has to have a large enough market, right? That people have a certain, let's say they have a problem, but there's a big market for that. There's a lot of people that have that same problem. Very, very important. You also want a product that's really easy to explain or do a demonstration. Very simple to do. Yep. You don't want to, if you create something that requires education, very difficult because that takes time and money. So you want something that you can explain real quick, has a large market, and keep it fairly simple. Okay, so don't try to complicate it. And make sure the other element, which is really important, that it can be manufactured at a price that the public will accept. Okay, so it has to have a few things, and if you can hit all those things, you can have a big hit on your hands. Yes.
Excellent. So once in one of your interviews online, I heard you say, you're looking for products that are going to put a smile on people's face. Do you remember saying this? Well, can you explain what you mean by this? I found it was very interesting, actually.
Well, I don't consider myself an inventor. I consider myself a product artist, and I'm not trained in this. I just find products that I kind of like. And I started out in the novelty gift industry, and those were just really fun, goofy ideas that just put a smile on people's face. So yeah. I wasn't trying to solve a problem. I was just wanting to be clever and see if I could put a smile on people's face. So that's how I started out. Okay.
Okay, excellent. Because indeed, there's a lot of startups today. They're trying to invent, solutions that are going to fix big problems. And on the other hand, on Amazon, for instance, you will find products like the banana slicer. I don't know if you've seen it, or other products in that category. It's very funny and actually sells millions also. So maybe the approach of solving a problem is not the unique approach, right?
I do believe there's a difference between big ideas, really big ideas, and then small ideas.
Yep.
Big ideas are going to take a lot of time, and they're going to take a lot of money.
Yep.
Some smaller ideas are going to come, they're not going to take as much time and as money, and they can come to market faster. But even smaller ideas still have the potential of a huge revenue stream. There's one particular product called Zip It. It's a long piece of plastic that pulls hair out of the sink, and it retails for $2.95. It's really, really inexpensive. And I think they've sold over 40 million of those.
Nice.
So there's a very simple idea that's done extremely well, and it's done well for years. So just because it's simple and small doesn't mean it's not profitable.
Exactly, and I think that's a very interesting, having maybe on your blog, sort of a way, a method to basically find those simple incremental innovations, that do not change the world, but they add a lot of value to those who use it. I think that would be quite interesting. Yeah. So how much innovation goes to waste? So how many patents do roughly never gets commercialized, and why is that? And why is it also a huge opportunity?
Yeah, the number is quite large. It's close, and no one has the exact figures, but what I've read and observed, it's probably close to the 97% of all patents never recoup the cost it takes to file them. Now that's really disturbing to me. That's a lot of wasted resources and money and time and energy. So why? I believe that most inventors or innovators, before they rush out and file a patent because of fear, that they should slow it down a little bit, file a provisional patent application, which is very affordable. And it gives you 1 year to see if your idea is marketable. That's the word, marketable. And that's why I think a lot of those patents were filed out of fear. And I think they didn't do their homework to see if anybody even wanted those ideas. And that's part of my whole philosophy, is try to license the benefit or sell the benefit of your idea first.
Yes.
Okay, and then if the benefit is strong enough where people want it, then go ahead and patent the thing, and then go ahead and build prototypes and do all the heavy work. But don't do it at the very beginning, because it's too risky.
Yes. Yep. Completely agree. And so, how would you define innovation success? You've already given us, a few little, hints, but if you had to tell someone, how to be innovative with all those companies, those marketing teams, those entrepreneurs that are trying to innovate, what is your view?
Well, success is measured by many different ways. Okay, but for me, I think if you have a product that people are repeating, or they go back, they go to the store, they buy it, they go back to the store, they buy it again. It's repeat orders.
Yes.
That to me is the magic. Coming up with the product, bringing it to market, takes a lot of work. But the true magic, if people come back and they keep on buying it, those repeat orders it's really success. If you can create those repeat orders, that's what success is. And what happens, like I had one product you can see down there, the Michael Jordan wall ball.
Yes.
It sold for 10 years. So that's a long life. A lot of products don't have such a long life. So I would think that was success. People went back, they bought it. Maybe a year later, they came out with a new variation of it. People bought it. They kept on coming back and buying it and buying it. That to me is the magic. Yeah.
Thank you. And then maybe, just to take the basketball game there that you invented. So how did you get the license from Michael Jordan and then the license with the companies that were making the game itself, and how did the magic happen?
Well, typically these indoor basketball games are just, the backboards are square. They're just square backboards. And this particular company, Ohio Art, was selling us a square backboard, a little game for indoor, and it had just a little logo of Michael Jordan. It was really small. And I love playing basketball, and I thought, well, that's terrible. Michael should be bigger. And so I just went down and bought a poster of Michael Jordan and put it on the backboard. In fact, I took their backboard and stuck it right on top of it. And then Ohio Art had the license. They were selling products already. So I just I called them up and said, I'm a product developer. And they went ahead and had me sign an NDA. And I sent the idea to them on April 9th of 1990. It was a few years ago. And 3 days later, I had a contract. 3 days later, they said they loved it. And usually it doesn't happen that fast. So don't think it happens that fast all the time, but it did. And they brought it to market fairly quick. But what they liked about it is that they leveraged the image of Michael Jordan better, right? They were able to, they had the license of Michael Jordan, but they weren't leveraging the power of his image. And that's what I did. So it sold for 10 years. And it had a commercial on TV, and the last check was for 55 cents. And we sold about, first year the royalties were about $100,000.
$100,000 a year.
Yeah, about that. There was no protection. I think the prototype probably cost me $20. So very little investment, no protection. The toy industry loves inventors. And so, it was a very simple concept. It wasn't, I didn't reinvent the wheel. I just showed them how to change it a little bit. I made a small improvement. Okay.
Excellent, excellent. And how much did Michael Jordan do on the royalties from this game? Because obviously
probably a lot better than I did. Okay, so.
Yeah, I can but yeah, he took, I can imagine.
I think it was a split royalty. But I'm sure his royalty was much higher than mine. Let's put it that way.
Yes. Right. Yes. So on the next, so we talked about the waste in innovation. So there's all those patents on Google patents, and but what's the best way to find great patents that have a market opportunity, and to be able to contact maybe the inventors who maybe do not have that commercial mindset or commercial aptitude? And how do you reach to those people and team up with them to actually create, and deliver commercial results on their great innovation? Is there a secret sauce?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I think that's a very good question. I think that's a question a lot of people have. I think research universities have a lot of intellectual property, and they're trying to find ways to commercialize it. So I don't have an answer for that. I think it starts with the patent holder that has created something that has a market for it. And they're not just creating to creating, but they're looking at a hole in the industry. They're looking at a problem that people have, and they're really creating for that solution. And then once they create that solution, then they have to go out and find that company. So
Yes.
I don't think companies are looking at patents. It's too hard to understand it's hard to look at a patent and see the value. So what I've been trying to teach everybody, your patent is not going to sell anything, but your marketing material of what that patent does is your tool.
Yes.
But I think there needs to be a bridge between companies wanting ideas and people that have ideas. And I'm trying to bridge that a little bit.
Yes. Yep. And maybe the trick is to have, some pitch, collaterals, for the patents, because I agree, if you go on Google patent, it's very, complex. It's very difficult to get it. And, having a way for companies to search for great patents in an understandable manner would be great, I think.
Well, I think you've got a great idea for a product because patents don't sell. Patents are even hard to read what the benefits are to the consumer.
Yes.
But what you're saying is very interesting, because what I'm trying to teach everybody, most ideas that get licensed don't have patents. And that kind of disturbs everybody a little bit, but that's what's happening. But a well-written provisional patent application is a very wonderful tool. It's a very inexpensive tool, but if you write it in such a way, and you can, that it's used as a selling tool in a way that patents aren't. So, so it's a different strategy, and I wrote a book on that too, about how to sell an idea with or without a patent, using a provisional patent application as that selling tool, as you mentioned. So it's interesting you brought that up, because I think reading a patent, I mean, if you ever want to go to sleep at night and you can't not go to sleep, read a patent. It will bore you to death. There's nothing in it that's sexy. Okay.
Yep. And I think that is definitely an opportunity, for improvement in terms of, because the problem I see is wasted innovation, and all this creativity, people has been putting a lot of effort in it, and it just dies on the shelf, the innovation shelf with dust on it, and it never see the lights. And then there's great people like you, or even, what we do at Startups Innovation, or other people who can actually help the inventors, help the entrepreneurs take it to light, take it from technology to product,
Well, it's so easy today, because on LinkedIn, all the companies you want to reach are on LinkedIn. It's very easy today to take a sketch on a napkin that looks terrible and then have a 3D computer generated sample made by a graphic artist that looks real. So you don't even have to make a prototype anymore. But it's that sell sheet, that one piece of marketing material that just sells itself. That's what you need to send to companies. And you can do that so quickly today that your chances of success have increased in a really big way. We see licensing deals about every week now. We have a lot of students submitting a lot of ideas, and you have to submit them to a lot of companies too. So it's a numbers game, but you have to have a really good marketing tool. There you go.
Yep. Excellent. And maybe that's an idea for the USP, the US Patent Office, to add a little video, for each patent, a little pitch, so people can pitch the commercial, opportunity. So
I think that's a brilliant idea. Someone ought to do that, because that way it sells itself, because patents don't sell itself. They're very poor selling tools, actually. Yeah, good point.
So happy to work on that with you, Stephen, anytime.
All right, good.
So can you explain what open innovation is, examples of companies that have adopted it, and which companies you think should use it more?
Well, open innovation is very simple. It's just that the companies have realized we might have 10 designers in the back room, and we pay them.
Yes.
But if we open the doors, we could have 10,000 people sending us ideas, not just 10 people in the back room. I think companies have realized they're going to crowdsource ideas. Okay, so it's a way to look at a lot of ideas. I also think companies realize they don't probably have the best designers either. I know designers, and when they're working for a company, they don't get the pat on the back, you did a good job. They don't get their name on the package. They get a paycheck. That's not that motivating to designers. It's just, okay, so I think people like myself, independent product developers, are really motivated, and we hustle, okay? And so I think we can out-design the in-house designers. So open innovation is just saying, hey, there's tens of thousands of companies now have opened their door and they're saying, hey, do you have a good idea? We want to see it. I think it's growing. I think it's even growing internationally now more and more. I think you're going to see, I think crowdfunding sites have helped. Companies have seen how Kickstarter or Indiegogo have been very successful crowdsourcing ideas. I think it's a whole different world now. And it's made it easier for us creative guys to show those companies ideas. And if they like it, they'll license it from us, do all the heavy lifting, and bring it to the store shelves. The number one benefit of open innovation is that those companies have the shelf space and stores already in place. So the best protection for any idea is licensing it to a market leader that can take your idea, bring it to market fast. It's speed to market today.
And I can completely see the value. The data is there to prove it. I think it's 90% of startup fail about, and the main reason is going to market. They don't have that the resources to go to market, and when they go through big companies, actually, the distribution channels are there, the infrastructure is there, the customers are already there, the brand is already there, right? Is that it?
I think more startups should look at their business model as maybe we can license some of our technology to a company, maybe we can partner with the company, we can still retain some ownership. But when you partner with a big player, they have the tools that are very, very necessary today to help you on that journey a little bit. And I don't know, I think that would be my approach, right? Is find that perfect partner. See, I think that licensing is really about finding the perfect partner that has things you don't have. What you have is a great idea. And what they have is manufacturing, fulfillment, marketing, shelf space. They got everything else. So it's a good partnership.
Excellent. So do you know if Microsoft is open to getting ideas from the crowd? So this is a perfect case study. So I have an idea that I think can drive millions in revenue for Microsoft. I contacted people there that I know, but then it ends up, on their desk, doesn't really move to the right person. So do they use open innovation, and how do you get into the right person, and submit that idea?
Well, first of all, some companies are just difficult to deal with. And when you're dealing with someone like a Microsoft, that is, you're reaching for the top. Those type of companies have a tendency not to take a lot of risk, right? And they don't have to because they're market leaders too, a little bit, right? And they usually wait for someone else to do something, let them test it, do all the hard work, and then they come in and just buy it. Okay, so they play a very safe game. And not only Microsoft, but there's a lot of people that do that. All the big Coca-Cola or Johnson & Johnson or P&G, they play the same game. We've got great distribution. We're a market leader. Prove to us your product has legs. Prove to us there's a market or eyeballs. Once you've done that, then we'll come and buy it from you. So
Yes.
I would suggest to go not to the top, but go to the mid-sized companies.
Interesting.
Yeah, because the mid-sized companies want to be big companies. And the
Yes.
mid-sized companies are hungry for ideas. They need a point of difference. They need that new idea to compete.
Yeah.
So yes, you can probably get into Microsoft. You might want to go through their ad agency. You know, there's other doors. You can't sometimes go in the front door. If you're going through their ad agency or maybe their PR, someplace where you can meet someone a little higher level that can help you. But typically, those big companies are hard just because they're market leaders. So go down a little bit lower and you'll find more success.
Great, thanks. So how does licensing a product with a big company work? What are some of the process steps to get there, the things to pay attention for? You know, what do they look at? What do they look for? You know, can you really come just with a napkin, or is it a bit like in the startup world where VCs are doing some due diligence and, you know, fund you only if there's the 100 steps, you know, check?
It all depends on the product category. Let's say as seen on TV, you know, you've seen those commercials and those guys are fairly large companies that sell a lot of product. One of the companies said to me just recently, they watched the video that I did about how to contact companies, and they said, Steve, we don't care if I'm sitting at a bar and you have a sketch on a napkin. We'll look at anything you have.
Yep.
They're very aggressive because they don't create products themselves. So they need a lot of ideas to come in, and they don't care. Like, I was really surprised he had that attitude, because usually you want to put together a good marketing piece, maybe a little video. He doesn't care about that. Just show me something I can get. Make it where it just communicates, but it doesn't have to be fancy. Now, some companies, let's say the kitchen category,
Yep.
there's a lot of those guys that want to see nice prototypes. They
Yep.
want to see a great marketing piece, but they want to see a prototype that works. And
Yep.
it's really designed, beautiful design. So that's a different level of execution. The toy industry, you can do a drawing. Here's a drawing. And,
Yes.
and if they like it, they'll ask to do a little bit more work. So it's all a little bit different. What I would recommend, look at the category you want to submit your ideas to, and look at their own products to get an idea how they're presented.
Yes.
And then ask them, when you reach out to them, say you're a product developer, you'd like to submit ideas to them, what is your process?
Yes.
What do you need? Do you need a
Yes.
video, prototype, a drawing? What do you need? And that way they can kind of tell you, and you can prepare correctly for it.
Excellent. And who do you reach out to? Is it the VP of marketing? Is it the head of R&D? Is it both? Is it the CEO?
Oh, great question. The perfect person at the majority of small and mid-sized companies, let's say mid-sized companies, would be the product manager. Now, the reason why the product manager is the right person, that person doesn't care where a great idea comes from. And they just want to see an idea. And they're responsible from the very beginning of it to the very end of it. Perfect person. That person's very busy, though. So the next
Yep.
person you might want to reach out to, someone in sales. Salespeople answer the phone all the time, right? They want to, and salespeople want to sell. So if you contact a salesperson and they like it, they're going to sell it internally for you, right? So that's a great person. If you're going to a really big company, you'll probably have to go through the door of new product development. Okay.
Yes.
And that's because they don't want you submitting to marketing. They want to look at the product first, evaluate it, make a presentation, and then show it to marketing. Because
Yes.
they want to make sure they can actually make it, right? They want to make sure they can actually deliver it. So they have to do a little bit more work before they'll show it around. And if it's a really small company, you're probably going to talk to the owner. Okay, so I don't recommend at a mid-size or even a big company, don't ever reach out to the vice president or the CEO or the president. Don't do that, because they're going to take that idea and send it down to someone else that's going to do the work. And you want to have a product manager that can take ownership of it and get promoted because they took ownership of it. Okay.
Excellent. And then kudos to you guys. I think on Inventors, you have a big network, right, of those decision makers, right, in those, mid-sized companies, if I've understood that well.
Yeah, for our students, we wanted to make it very easy for them. So we went ahead and contacted 3,000 companies. I mean, and that's just a few. I mean, there's probably tens of thousands, but we've made contact with 3,000 companies that are looking for ideas. So our students have an easier portal to submit ideas to them. It's called IR Connect. And it took a while to build that network, but I think it's very helpful. Yeah.
Excellent. And the industries you guys are in, is it, the toy industry, kitchen? So is it also healthcare, let's say, and automobile, or is it like you guys have a, top 3 sort of industry you focus on?
No, it's really across the board. Some industries are more popular than others. We have a lot of kitchen companies, very popular. They're always looking for ideas. The pet industry, we have a lot of pet companies looking for ideas. Hardware, things, do it yourself. We've had some students license things in the auto industry, packaging industry, healthcare industry. So it's all over the board. We have a lot of dentists that are students, and I don't know why. Maybe because they're fixing things in your mouth all the time, but they're coming up with different ways in their industry. So it's all over the board, basically.
Excellent, excellent. So we might, quote unquote, partner with you. We have startups sometimes, and licensing is an option. So it might be interesting to send you some of our entrepreneurs, to go the licensing route. You're welcome, Stephen. Thanks. So you talked a bit about Inventors, and can you give us a bit of data points? How many students? I think you gave us already how many students, but how many licensing deals, royalties were generated since it started, and how it works overall. How, let's say, if I wanted to go there now as a student, how does it work? What do I need to do?
Okay. We have students in 58 countries, which is quite a few now. And I mentioned we had them from 18 years old to 82. So there's no kind of this certain student. It's all over the board. What we've noticed is that you can do this anywhere in the world. So it doesn't matter where you live, what you really like. We have 12 coaches.
Okay.
The 12 coaches were students at one time that were very successful, and they wanted to stay in the industry, and they wanted to coach, so they understand it. So it's really a good fit. So when someone signs up, you get a coach. We try to match them up. We have one coach that's in the toy industry. So if someone comes to us, they want to be a toy inventor, we match them up with that coach. So coaches kind of specialize at times in certain industries. When basically what we do, it's really simple. We have a 10-step process. So when someone becomes a student, that coach takes them through those 10 steps. That coach makes sure they get everything done. Okay.
Great.
Yeah. And a lot of people need that, and I understand that. The coach makes sure that they're accountable each week. They set up calls. So our goal is within 45 days to get that person in the game. Okay.
Yes.
So we have some students that have a lot of experience. Some students have very little experience. It's different. Some some students have really big ideas that are complicated. Some are very simple. But our goal is to get those ideas with the right marketing material, the right protection, the right list of companies looking for ideas, to get them in the game within 45 days. Because once we do that, everything changes.
Yes.
They realize I can do this. So their confidence level changes. And then when there's interest, we have someone, David Fidawa is our negotiator, and he helps behind the scenes get the deals done. We see a deal done about every week now. And that's a little difficult. That takes a lot of experience. I think we probably see more licensing deals than probably anybody in the world at this point. It takes longer than people think it takes. Okay, so you have to be patient. And most licensing deals, when they first come over, when you first see it, are really ugly. They're awful. But we know how to get them back on track. And we do it in such a way that the company wins and our student wins. So it's really experience. And I think that's where we really shine, is with that, with that interest. And the other thing I want to point out too, when you're working with the company and they know you're independent inventor, they have a tendency to want to take advantage of you a little bit, okay? And we like that. We think that's okay. Because what they don't realize is that behind you, there's all of us with so many years of experience, but they don't know that. And so we want them to underestimate you, because that allows us to kind of work behind the scenes to get the deal done.
Yes.
And it works.
Don't reveal all your secrets.
Well, I tell everybody that. You know what it is? At the end of the day, I tell everybody too, the companies don't care what you've done in the past. They only care about what you're showing them today.
Yes.
Okay. And a lot of these companies, I think, know who we are now. They like who we are because they know we're reasonable. They know that we show them good products. They know that we educate our students, that they're professional. And a good contract's a good contract, right? But some of the contracts we see, they're not very fair. But it's easy to make it fair. It's just common sense. We use a common sense approach. And they seem to all look pretty much the same. They don't start out the same, but we get them on track.
Excellent, excellent. So what are the typical royalty rates that one can negotiate, and on what basis or terms are they typically determined, in a licensing deal?
I would say over the years, a typical royalty rate is about 5%. And that's on the wholesale price. Sometimes it's higher if you've done some work, right? If you have a patent, although you don't need one, but let's say you have one, maybe you've sold some products, maybe you've already been in business a little bit, you've taken away some risk. That might warrant a higher royalty rate, maybe 7, 8, or 10. And some ideas that are consumables, like packaging or labels. I mean, I have this one. This is one of my technologies, and you can see it here. You spin it.
Is it the spin?
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome.
And what was interesting about this? That was a consumable. So we sold. I licensed it to multiple companies in different categories, and we sold over 500 million labels, which is not really that much. But the royalty rate could be a little smaller because of the volume.
Yes.
And so it all depends, but I would say standard, probably 5% is pretty standard. Yeah.
Great, thanks. So can you really protect an idea in this day and age, or is it about speed to market? And how do you really protect your idea? Is a patent enough?
I don't think you can anymore. I don't think you ever could, to tell you the truth. I have a technology that was selling around the world, and I had to defend my technology in federal court. And I went through that process, and that's a very long and a very expensive process. And I don't think a lot of people would want to do that. And I also believe because of the internet, Amazon, Alibaba, all the, it's hard to protect anything, right? Because there's so many different places to sell product now. I mean, if you have a successful product, I can guarantee you're going to be copied. Now, there's ways to slow it down a little bit. I wrote an article for Forbes of 16 ways how to stop copycats. But the big picture is just realize it's going to happen, okay? And do some things ahead of time to protect yourself. A design patent is typically not something you would think had a lot of value, but a design patent is very powerful to stop copycats on the internet. The trademark is a very important tool too. But the big picture, if you're a startup, if you're manufacturing a product and you want to stop copycats, just produce good customer service, good products. People will love you, right? And tell your story. And if you're going to license it to a company that's got great distribution, okay? So there's different ways of doing it, but getting back to your question, can you stop it? No. And I like to tell everybody, it's like you work so hard and you have this big apple pie and you want to eat this pie. It's all yours. But you realize you're going to have to share that pie a little bit with some other people. Okay.
Very good. Thanks, Stephen. So what's your views on crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, and all these platforms like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, the benefits, but also, the limitations that you see in those?
Yeah, I think they're wonderful, by the way. Okay. And I like it that people are voting with their wallet. I like that very much. I do believe, though, it takes a lot of time and effort to run a good campaign. And I think they're seeing a lot of failure because even though you raise money, that's not the big problem. The problem is knowledge, manufacturing knowledge, marketing knowledge. But everybody seems to think if I just have enough money and a good idea, that's all I need. It's not quite, it doesn't work that way. So a lot of projects that do get funded never ship because of manufacturing issues, or they're late, or so I think it's a big problem that those sites are trying to help a little bit with it, try to educate, maybe find partners to help deliver. Yep. Okay. So, but the other issue someone said to me, I thought was really interesting. All the companies that want to copy us, they're looking at the products. Okay, so it's like this is not my quote, but it's a wonderful quote I heard from someone. Kickstarter and Indiegogo is just a catalog for the people to knock it off.
Yes,
that's frightening. So I think the way I would use those sites would be to not reach for the big numbers, get the little I don't think you have to have this huge dollar amount to be successful. I think you can run a smaller campaign and prove that there's a market for it, to license it. I also believe that maybe if you want to make it yourself, manufacture it, get it all ready to ship it, then use it. So I think there's ways to take advantage of it, but don't be naive because you can be taken advantage of.
Agree with you 100%. Yep, I think it's great tools, and there's opportunities, to prove the market traction.
Yes.
The 5 things you wish you knew 25 years ago that you know now that you would recommend entrepreneurs, inventors to think about.
Number 1, let's start with finding a mentor. It sounds really crazy, but find someone that's doing something that you want to do, and kind of look at their career and ask them, see if you can get close and ask them questions. I think there's a lot of people there that will help you on your journey. Don't think you have to do it alone. Also, I think number 2, there's a lot of information out there that's just has so much value. Find it. And if it's podcasts, there's a lot of great podcasts with information. That's why I'm doing this now. There's articles. There's great books. I'm a big believer in education. Always, you always become a student, never stop. Number three, don't give up too early. And stop listening to people that are negative. Get them out of your life. If you've got someone that doesn't believe in you, don't share ideas with that person. Find a community that embraces you, that gives you the encouragement you need to keep moving forward, because you're going to need a lot of encouragement. Okay. And I would say number four, love what you're doing. Do not chase money. I think if you're looking for short-term results, I think you're always going to come up short. I think if you have long-term goals, you stay on track, your time will come. It'll always come by. And then the last one, number five, I would say the most important thing I've learned through all of this are really two more things. Number one, build relationships with people. And build a relationship with people and give as much as you can. I believe part of my success has been that I try to give to the community. I try to give as much back as I possibly can. And with that philosophy, things come back tenfold to me that I don't even expect or would never expect it. But I think if you kind of follow those a little bit, those are things I've learned in 25 years. I wish I knew when I was a younger man. There you go.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Stephen. And so the next question is my trick question. It's actually not a question for me, but it's what Peter Thiel, Peter Thiel, the venture capitalist from San Francisco, an ex-PayPal founder or
Yes.
co-founder, asks when he hires someone, or that's his trick question, is give me one secret you believe is true that many other people disagree with you.
Most people disagree with me. Well,
But then, yeah.
patent attorneys all disagree with me. They think you have to own something to license it, and that's just not true. And I think a lot of people disagree with me that it's okay to give everything away. And I think I learned that from a couple very smart people. One was Tim Ferriss. The other one was Seth Godin. Told me, if you're truly an expert, give it all away. And if people want more, they'll come back to you in droves. They will follow you and trust you and be transparent. And those are things I don't think a lot of people realize that are true.
Yep, that's a good one. Yep. Thanks for sharing. So on the next one, so what would you say about innovation adoption and the timing for innovation? So the electric car, right, existed since the 1800s. AR, VR was there in the 80s. So was, touch screens. Why is it, those great innovation actually just come, 100 years later? And who decides? Is it some, venture capital forces behind deciding that this is the new technology and everyone invests in? What is the, what's the secret? Because a lot of innovators we were talking about, invents things where the market is not ready for it. How do you determine, if you're in the right market and so on and so on?
Yeah, it's timing, and timing is so important. A lot of it has to do with cost.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest thing. If you cannot roll out a product at the right price point, it's really difficult for people to adopt it. And sometimes technology advances to where the price point becomes more affordable for the masses, for more people. Those are big projects, and those take a lot of capital. They take a lot of vision. They take a lot of just time to execute. But more than that, can you deliver it at a price point where people will purchase? I think that's, in my opinion, that's the most difficult thing. There's a technology that's coming out. It's called near field technology that is basically printed electronics that will be on every product you ever purchase. And all you have to do is tap your phone and it will bring up information about that product or coupons or supply chain. The problem with that technology now, it's too expensive, but the price is coming down. So it was a little advanced, but as time goes on, when they get that price point right, it will be everywhere. So I think it's timing, and I think it's the manufacturing cost.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And you talked about Tim Ferriss. He was a student of you, is that correct? And in what sense, what happened there? Because we all like Tim Ferriss, of course. So
yeah, Tim was one of my first students quite a few years ago. And I met him, and he was a pretty amazing individual. He was very, very curious about licensing. He knew I was what he calls the new rich. That had designed a system where I wasn't working for the system, but the system was working for me. And he was very interested in licensing one of his product called Brain Quicken, so he could do other things with his life. That's how we met, and he was very persistent. He asked me a million questions. I learned a lot from him too, which is really interesting. Look back, I think I probably learned more from him than he learned from me. And then he became very popular, and he wrote about me in his book, 4-Hour Workweek.
Excellent.
And I thank him enough for that, because when he did that, people found me, and people still find me through Tim Ferriss.
Excellent, excellent. Great ideas attract great minds. So says Jay Summit, another person we've interviewed, the author of Disrupt You. So, I'm not surprised that you guys, met, So on the next question, what are the biggest not to miss rendezvous for inventors, innovators who are looking for licensing opportunities or to learn more about how to in the US or in the world? Is there like, top 5, events, for people wanting to license products?
I think there's a lot of inventors associations across the country, which I support 100%. But I think the newest thing are the meetups with entrepreneurs that are meeting up now. There's hackathons, which are fantastic. There's excitement with on campuses. I'm doing quite a bit of speaking on innovation, on licensing within campuses now, not only here in the United States, but even overseas. I think there's quite a few places to jump in. I think on LinkedIn, you might be able to find some like-minded individuals, some groups I would definitely join. But I think you have to seek it out. I don't think there's just one place. I think you have to, I think there's a lot of places. So start with one and then find other things that you support, and support the community too. I was telling everybody on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is the way to market yourself now. And you can market yourself by a great profile, professional picture, sharing content, commenting on articles, sharing stuff. Be a participant, and you'll find other people that will reach out to you and build your network.
Yes, excellent. Thank you. So 2 last questions. So you have several books. Can you tell us a bit what is in those books and where people can find them?
Okay. Right up there, you'll see, you can see that there. One Simple Idea was really the foundation of my process, is 10 steps, and you can find that at Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or rent it at your library. But wherever you get it, it has 10 steps, and it's very easy to read. And I think we're close to almost 500 5-star reviews, so it's done very well. And it's been translated in, I think, 6 different languages. I would always start with that. There's another, if you want to dive a little deeper in how to license an idea with or without a patent, how to really use intellectual property tools. There's another book up above there with my face on there. That's how to sell an idea with or without a patent. I tried to take a very complicated topic and make it really easy to understand. And I'm finding that a lot of patent attorneys are giving that out now because it's just good, solid advice. And then if you have a small idea, but you want to venture it yourself, you really want to get into the game of manufacturing yourself. And I've done that too. I sold product to Walmart and 7-Eleven and was a Disney licensee. And it would be the Red Book. That's one simple idea of how to bring a product to market yourself. So those
Excellent.
are the 3 books I have out now, and you can find them most likely at libraries, but also on Amazon.
Excellent. And knowledge is key. So of course, we recommend highly people to buy it and take a read. I'll definitely take a read on my end for sure. This interview was very inspiring. So finally, you write for entrepreneurs.com, for Inc. also. What do you write about, and where can people follow you? What's the best way to stay in touch with Stephen Key?
Okay. Thank you for asking that. I started writing for Entrepreneur quite a few years ago, and I'm writing now at the moment really the steps, but also how to be a successful entrepreneur. And I think there's quite a few articles there. I've been writing for them probably for 6 or 7 years, maybe a little less. Inc., I write about licensing lifestyle. It's a little bit more narrow in scope on what does it take to be a product developer licensing ideas. And then I started writing for Forbes a couple months ago. And that's going to be on intellectual property for profit. Those articles will be how to use intellectual property from a business perspective to make money from your intellectual property.
Yes.
Usually people write from a legal perspective, but I want to really pull back the curtain of how to make the dollars if you're a small company or startup or a mid-sized company. But there's another area. If you go to inventwrite.com, we have the largest library of all those articles in one place, I think, in the world on licensing. So that's absolutely free. And then the other thing I would highly recommend is watch our YouTube channel, InventRight TV. We had over 600,000 views last year. This doesn't sound like a lot, but we do a video every week. And we have a lot of content, over 300 videos. And I'm going to go through every possible part of this thing and give it away for you guys. Yeah.
Excellent. So we'll put all the links, the books, the video, the channels, your profiles on entrepreneur.com, all in the post that's going to go with this interview. So thank you so much, Stephen, for your time. This was very insightful, and it was an honor again to have you here, the guru of licensing. So thank you very much.
No, my pleasure, and contact me whenever you'd like to do this again. Okay, so thank you.
Let's do it.